These weren't your average showroom ponies. These Mustangs were born in backroom strategy sessions, fine-tuned on racetracks, and unleashed with one goal: take down Chevrolet. From Trans Am warriors to secret drag pack assassins, this is Ford's quiet revolution. 10 Mustangs bred solely to win, not sell, win. Forget what you think you know about Ford's muscle cars. These aren't mass-maker heroes. They're limited-run, race-bred machines built to push Chevrolet off the podium, sometimes literally. Each Mustang on this list carries battle scars, not brochure polish. Built in silence, raced in fury, this is the story they never wanted you to hear. Top 1, 1972 Mach 1351 HO, Arcove. It looked like any other Mach 1 on the lot. But under the skin, the 1972 Arcode Mach 1 351 HO was a thinly veiled attempt to keep the Mustang competitive against rising GM dominance, built quietly and buried even faster. By 1972, the Mustang had ballooned in size and lost most of its bite. But Ford engineers weren't ready to surrender the battlefield, so they gave the Mach 1 a secret weapon: the 351 high output, HO. On paper, it seemed modest, just 275 horsepower. But this wasn't your average Cleveland. It had solid lifters, a higher lift cam, forged pistons, and a dual-point distributor. A factory 4-speed manual and 3.91 traction lock rear made it feel far livelier than its published numbers. Outside, it wore the Mach 1's standard stripes and NASA hood, hiding the R-code mystery within. Only 398 units were built with the 351 HO, making it rarer than most boss cars. And it wasn't advertised like a halo car. Most buyers didn't even know what they had. It came at a time when insurance premiums and emissions rules were killing muscle cars. Ford let it fade out quietly, despite its potential. Today, the 351 HO R-code is one of the least understood Mustangs of the era. It offered real race-bred hardware in a sleeper package. And while GM's LT1 Camaros stole headlines, this Mach 1 was Ford's hidden counterpunch. But few collectors know it even existed, because Ford never wanted them to. Yet even this secret wasn't as extreme as what came next. Ford wasn't done bending the rules, because the next Mustang on our list broke them completely, starting with its engine placement and ending in brute force. Top 2, 1970 Boss 429 Mustang. It wasn't built to sell, it was built to qualify. The 1970 Boss 429 Mustang was never meant to rule the streets, it was born to dominate NASCAR. But to race it, Ford had to hide it in plain sight. To homologate the massive 429 semi-Hemi for NASCAR, Ford needed to slip it into production vehicles, and the Mustang became the unlikely host. The Boss 429 wasn't just a big block swap. Carecraft hand-modified each unit to widen the shock towers, relocate battery trays, and reinforce the chassis. The result was a tightly packed engine bay stuffed with a 429 CI V8 using aluminum heads, a solid lifter cam, and a single 735 CFM Holleycarb. Official output: 375 horsepower. Real-world estimates: over 500 horsepower. Backed by a close ratio top-loader 4-speed and a 3.91 or 4.3 rear axle, this was Ford's moonshot against Mopar. Despite its brute force, the Boss 429 wasn't a great street car. It was nose-heavy, with conservative cam timing to meet emissions, and idled like a truck. Its real purpose was homologation. Just 499 units were built in 1970, barely enough to meet NASCAR rules. Ford didn't advertise it aggressively. This wasn't a showroom king, it was a legal loophole with a VIN. Collectors now treat the Boss 429 like a holy relic, with values soaring well into six figures. But in its day, it was misunderstood and overbuilt for the street. It was Ford flexing its racing muscle quietly, proving it could play dirty just like Dodge and Plymouth. But brute force wasn't Ford's only weapon. Sometimes precision cut deeper. Because the next Mustang wasn't built around displacement, it was built around balance, revs, and road course revenge. Top 3, 1971 Boss 351 Mustang. It didn't have a Hemi, it didn't need one. The 1971 Boss 351 Mustang was Ford's final punch in the Trans Am saga, an underrated predator disguised in fastback skin, tuned to rev, rip, and ruin Camaros on any road course. After retiring the Boss 302 and 429, Ford engineers fused both philosophies into a new machine, the Boss 351. Built on the larger 1971 Mustang platform, it came equipped with the R-Code 351 Cleveland, a high-compression 1121 solid-lifter V8 that cranked out 330 horsepower at 5,400 RPM. But the magic wasn't just peak numbers. It had aluminum intake, 780 CFM polycarb, forged pistons, and aggressive cam timing, making it scream up to 6,200 RPM. Paired with a close ratio 4-speed and a 3.91 traction-lock rear axle, it was one of the quickest Mustangs of its era. 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, quarter mile in 13.8. Yet despite its performance, the Boss 351 was built during the muscle car collapse. Insurance rates were spiking, fuel prices were rising, emissions regulations loomed. Only 1,806 units were produced, making it rarer than the Boss 302 or 429, and often forgotten in their shadow. Today, collectors are finally waking up. The Boss 351 wasn't just quick, it was refined. It handled well thanks to competition suspension, staggered shocks, and front-rear sway bars. Inside, it came with high-back buckets, wood grain trim, and a Hurst shifter pure muscle with a splash of class. It was the swan song of Ford's factory Trans Am intentions, and it deserved better than obscurity. But while the Boss 351 ruled the track, Ford wasn't done weaponizing its Mustangs. Because the next machine on our list didn't come from Dearborn alone. It bore a snake badge, Shelby's signature, and a whole different kind of street venom. Top 4. 1968 Shelby GT350. By 1968, the Mustang wasn't just a pony car, it was a battlefield. And leading Ford's charge was a legend reborn, the Shelby GT350. But behind the stripes and scoops was a transformation Shelby purists never saw coming. The 1968 GT350 marked a new era. Ford had taken full control of Shelby production, shifting assembly from Venice to Michigan. The result? A more refined, factory-friendly GT350. Under the hood sat a 302 cubic inch V8 rated at 250 horsepower, replacing the high-strung 289 from previous years. It wasn't as raw, but it was smoother, quieter, and faster than the numbers suggested. The car featured aluminum intake, Holley carb, and a dual exhaust setup. Paired with a 4-speed manual or C4 automatic, it still had muscle, just less bite. Visually, it was pure showstopper. A unique fiberglass nose, integrated driving lights, rear spoilers, sequential tail lights, and Shelby badging screamed exclusivity. Inside, it boasted a roll bar, wood-rimmed steering wheel, and optional air conditioning, a GT Muscle Lux hybrid before the term existed. Despite the upgrades, hardcore fans noticed the shift. The GT350 had gone from Carroll Shelby's track terror to a more civil, Ford-managed performer. Still quick, but no longer a racer's weapon. Only 4,451 GT350s were built in 1968, a solid number but far from mass market. Today, the 68 GT350 is a collector's gem, appreciated for its style, rarity, and role in the Mustang Shelby saga. While not as ferocious as its predecessors, it represented Ford's pivot to market-savvy performance and paved the way for a new kind of street credibility. But while the GT350 leaned towards civility, its big brother took a very different route. The next Mustang on our list wasn't just louder, it was longer, meaner, and hiding 428 cubic inches of pure Shelby vengeance. Top 5, 1969-70, Shelby GT500. This wasn't a Mustang with a bigger engine. It was a street-legal war machine draped in fiberglass armor, one final Shelby, stuffed with brute force just before the legend walked away. The 1969-70 GT500 was Shelby American's parting gift before Carroll Shelby ended his partnership with Ford. Built at Ford's Michigan plant, the GT500 came with a 428 Cobra Jet V8 topped with a Holley 735 CFM carb and rated at 335 horsepower. But real-world figures pushed close to 400 horsepower. Torque came in waves, delivering brutal acceleration, even with the car's hefty curb weight. Mated to a 4-speed manual or optional select-shift automatic, it could hit 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds and cover the quarter mile in 14.2. It looked like nothing else on the road. With its extended fiberglass nose, dual NACA hood scoops, unique grille and rear spoiler, the GT500 was both elegant and intimidating. Inside, it offered comfort upgrades like deluxe wood-grain trim, high back bucket seats, and the signature roll bar with inertia reel belts. Despite its firepower and visual punch, the GT500 struggled against the changing times. Rising insurance rates and government scrutiny dulled the market's appetite for high-performance beasts. Sales lagged, and leftover 69 models were re-VINed and sold as 1970. In total, just 3,153 units of the 1969-70 GT500 were produced. Today, the GT500 stands as the swan song of the original Shelby era. It wasn't as raw as the early GT350s, but it delivered a unique blend of muscle, style, and Shelby legacy. It marked the end of Carroll Shelby's direct influence on Mustangs for over 3 decades, until his return in the 2000s. But Shelby's departure didn't mean Ford was finished. Their next weapon wasn't signed by a legend, but it was built to humiliate Camaros in corners and prove Detroit's engineering could still dance at redline. Top 6, 1969 Boss 302 Mustang. Built to outturn, outrev, and outgun the Z28 Camaro, the 1969 Boss 302 Mustang wasn't just a car. It was Ford's middle finger to Chevrolet, delivered at 6,000 RPM with a race license attached. To homologate the Mustang for the SCCA Trans Am series, Ford created the Boss 32A precision-built street machine designed by Larry Shinoda with race-inspired engineering underneath. The heart was a unique 302 cubic inch small block V8, blending a 302 Windsor block with Cleveland heads. It featured forged pistons, high-rise aluminum intake, a 780 CFM Holley carburetor, and a 10.51 compression ratio, pumping out a conservative 290 horsepower, but real output neared 350 plus horsepower. With a close ratio 4-speed and 3.91 gears, it launched to 60 miles per hour in 6.5 seconds and ran the quarter mile in 14.6 seconds. The exterior was equally aggressive, no fake scoops, no chrome fluff, just a blackout hood, racing stripes, front spoiler, rear window slats, and those signature Magnum 500 wheels. Inside it was all business, high-back buckets, Hurst shifter, and minimal luxury. This car didn't coddle, it cornered. Despite its genius, the Boss 302 was overshadowed by the bigger Boss 429 and lacked the brute appeal many buyers wanted. Only 1,628 units were produced in 1969, making it one of the rarest Mustangs of the era. It was too raw, too niche built, more for tracks than suburban driveways. Today, the 69 Boss 302 is revered not for straight-linal speed, but for balance and precision. It showed the world that Ford could do finesse, not just force. It was the Mustang's first real shot at handling supremacy. But if the Boss 302 was finesse, the next Mustang went full brute. With 429 cubes stuffed under the hood, it didn't care about corners. It just wanted to crush anything with a bow tie at the drag strip. Top 7, 1971 Mach 1 429 Cobra. Jet. By 1971, the Mustang had grown longer, wider, and heavier, but that didn't mean it lost its fight. With a 429 Cobra jet under the hood, the Mach 1 was Ford's last true heavyweight brawler before the muscle car lights dimmed. The 71 Mach 1 was built on the new, larger Mustang platform, stretching over 200 inches and tipping the scales at more than 3,800 pounds. But Ford wasn't done with performance just yet. Under the Ram Air hood sat the 429 cubic inch Cobra Jet V8, rated at 370 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. With 4-bolt mains, a Rochester Quadrajet carb, and optional drag pack upgrades, it delivered stunning straight-line speed. The car could hit 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds, and blaze through the quarter mile in the mid-13s, depending on the rear gear ratio. Its looks matched the muscle. Aggressive NASA hood scoops, blacked-out details, sport slats, chin spoiler, and optional Magnum 500 wheels gave the Mach 1 a presence like no other. Inside, drivers got high-back vinyl bucket seats, simulated wood-grain trim, and rally instrumentation, a mix of muscle and luxury. While it had all the ingredients of a classic, the 1971 Mach 1 Cobra Jet faced 2 unstoppable forces: weight and regulation. The car's bloated body, made handling sluggish, and looming emission standards meant the party wouldn't last. Only 3,181 R-code Cobra Jet Mach 1S were produced in 1971, making them a rare breed from a fading era. The 429 CJ Mach 1 was one of the last big block Mustangs that truly delivered on its promise. It marked the final stand of Ford's unrestrained muscle philosophy before downsizing and detuning took over. But while the Cobra Jet thundered in straight lines, the next Mustang went the other way, built for speed, rarity, and regional domination with a tornado in its name. Top 8. 1970 Mach 1 Twister Special. Born from a cancelled air show and a sudden marketing pivot, the 1970 Mach 1 Twister Special wasn't just rare, it was a regional lightning strike that hit Kansas like a rolling thunderstorm in orange paint. In 1970, Ford planned to showcase its performance lineup at the Kansas City International Airport. When the event was canceled, Ford turned it into a dealer-exclusive campaign. Thus, the Twister Special was born. Only 96 units of the Mach 1 were produced for this unique run, all painted in grabber orange and delivered exclusively to Kansas dealerships. Each Mach 1 Twister Special came equipped with either a 351 Cleveland V8 or, more impressively, the 428 Super Cobra Jet V8 mated with a drag pack option. That meant 375 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque, and a car capable of 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, with quarter-mile times in the low 13-second range. The cars featured Twister Special decals on the rear quarters, shaker hoods, black Mach 1 stripes, and Magnum 500 wheels, making them unmistakable on sight. Inside, the cars received standard Mach 1 appointments, knitted vinyl seats, simulated wood-grain dash, and a center console with clock and gauges. These weren't stripped dragsters, they were fully dressed muscle machines built for the open plains. Despite their appeal, the Twister Specials were forgotten for decades. Many were driven hard and vanished into obscurity. Today, only a fraction survive, and the ones that do are among the most coveted regional Ford Specials ever made. The Twister Special wasn't built for national fame, it was built to dominate local lots and streetlight showdowns in Middle America, and it did just that, quietly becoming a Mustang legend in flyover country. But as Ford looked beyond landlocked muscle, the next Mustang icon emerged from a fastback silhouette with cinematic fame and a dark green heartbeat that never stopped pounding. Top 9. 1972 Mustang Convertible 351 HO Sprint Edition. At first glance, it looked like a patriotic cruiser for Sunday drives, but underneath its red, white, and blue paint, the 1972 Mustang Sprint Convertible packed the heart of a street brawler, ready to defend Ford's honor in Chevy country. In 1972, Ford launched the limited-run Sprint series to celebrate American pride and Olympic spirit. The Sprint package added bright blue stripes, USA Shield decals, and color-matched interiors. But the real shock came in the drivetrain. Most Sprint cars were modest 6-cylinders or 302S, but a handful of convertibles received the 351 high-output HOR code. V8, a 275 horsepower 4-barrel Cleveland monster, made it to a 4-speed top-loader with performance suspension. Only 50 units of the Sprint convertible were believed to be built with the 351 HO, making it one of the rarest open-top muscle Mustangs ever produced. With its combination of convertible body, high-compression Cleveland engine, and Olympic paint scheme, it stood out from every angle. Inside, it wasn't just style. The optional sports interior package offered high-back bucket seats, rally gauges, and wood-trimmed accents. On the outside, the chrome bumpers, color-keyed mirrors, and Magnum 500 wheels completed the muscle luxury balance. Despite the performance credentials, the car was misunderstood. Many buyers saw the Sprint as a cosmetic trim. Few realized some convertibles hid an R-code engine under the hood. By the time collectors caught on, most had vanished, driven into the ground, or returned to stock. Now, the 351 HO Sprint convertible stands as one of the ultimate sleepers, a muscle car wrapped in red, white, and blue innocence, built to wave the flag while blowing past bow ties. But if this convertible snuck past Chevy under the radar, the next Mustang was loud, low-slung, and painted like a venomous warning, Ford's last real street brawler of the decade. Top 10, 1978, Mustang II King Cobra. It wore a fire-breathing snake on the hood and flared fenders like armor. The 1978 King Cobra looked ready for war, but under the skin, it was a desperate cry for help from a Mustang, trying to stay relevant. In the twilight of the Mustang II era, Ford needed a way to revive excitement. Enter the King Cobra, a one-year-only swan song for the second-gen Mustang. It featured wild graphics, a front air dam, rear spoiler, and bold King Cobra decals stretched across the sides and hood. The snake decal alone was nearly 4 feet long. Underneath the styling, however, sat a familiar powertrain, a 302 cubic inch V8, putting out just 139 horsepower. Paired to a 4-speed manual or 3-speed automatic, the King Cobra ran 0 to 60 in a sluggish 10.2 seconds. It looked fast, but it wasn't. Still, it handled decently thanks to the rally package, larger sway bars, upgraded shocks, and Goodyear radials on cast aluminum turbine wheels. Inside, buyers got high-back bucket seats, a sports steering wheel, and optional T-tops to soak in the disco-era sun. Though mocked for its performance, the King Cobra was the first Mustang to officially ban the 5 badge, a sign of how far the Mustang had fallen. And yet only 4,313 units were built, making it the rarest production Mustang II, a car that screamed aggression while whispering compromise. It became a symbol of 1970 automotive identity crisis, big attitude, low output. And yet today, collectors chase these oddballs as emblems of a lost era, when design tried to mask defeat. And for the King Cobra itself, there would be no sequel, no final roar. Just a slow fade into Mustang mythology, its hood snake coiled forever, ready to strike, but never biting. While Chevrolet flexed its muscle in plain sight, Ford's secret Mustangs stalked the shadows and dominated the finish lines. From drag strips to road courses, these 10 ponies weren't made for parades, they were engineered for war. And when the dust settled, Ford didn't just race Chevy, they embarrassed them. Quietly, permanently.